I'm Lizzy.
And I'm Izzy, and we need help.
Each week we stumble through a new book, method, or concept that brings us one step closer to being our best self.
Yes, we make fun of ourselves.
And others.
But mostly just ourselves. So here's to not taking self-help quite so seriously.
Welcome to We Need Help. I'm Lizzy.
And I'm Izzy, and today we're just going to be too much of ourselves.
We're going to be way too much, and we hope you are too. Happy New Year.
Happy friggin' New Year. Fucking New Year.
Happy
I'm sorry. See, there I go.
2024.
There I go editing myself.
Happy fucking New Year to everybody and to us. I love even years.
Oh, I love odd years are a fucking disaster. They seem to be a disaster.
I had a good 2023, I think.
The end was just like dragging. I was like, just get it over with, like fucking done, like please. Yeah. And then
it's like mediocre sex. You're like, okay, is this gonna end?
like where do I need to squeeze so this ends?
Yeah, look, okay, like seriously, I can't
Like what
fake
kegel
this
do I
any
need
longer.
to so this is just finished.
I'm coming, not really, but hurry up.
That was 2023.
2023. Well, not that I do that ever.
Yeah, a broad stroke apology to anyone who I've ever done that with.
Anybody who's listening that's happened to with me, it wasn't what
you.
I was talking about. Wasn't you? Oh my God. So 2023 is over and 2024 is here. I'm so happy that
I
it's
love, I don't know
even
why. I feel really optimistic for this year. Like, yeah, it must be the even
everybody.
numbers. Yeah.
Everybody does. It's like everyone I've talked to is super, I don't know if they're just mirroring me because sometimes that happens. They're like, yeah, it's right here. They're like silently crying. But have you ever noticed that? Like when you're really pumped up about something, somebody else is going to be like super excited about it.
Yeah.
And then they're not. But I'm happy. How was what did you do for New Year's Eve? You have you don't drink or do drugs.
Yeah.
So what do you do?
We played board. We always go to, so we were in the countryside and we always go to my friend Maya, who has like this beautiful, she bought like this hotel that was falling apart and she just turned it into her family
Oh my
home.
God.
And it's like shabby chic, but in the most fabulous way. And like every piece of furniture is a different color, but it like works really well in her home.
She has the eye for that.
Like, she has the eye for that. Like if I did that, people would be like, what is that disgusting?
I love your yard sale. It looks good in here. It's like a rummage sale. Perfect.
So we went over there and it was just so funny because she's got the most like normal, loving, large, hilarious family. And they just all really love each other and like get along. At least
they're not normal. First of all, they're not, I'm calling bullshit.
I mean,
somebody's uncle fucked somebody in the family.
There is that, but he wasn't invited. So everybody who was like fun was invited. And we played board games. We played this board game called Mexican Train, which I just thought, I love it. Like they wouldn't have this board game in the US because they'd be like, that's racist. But in Poland, they don't really care. So it's like this dominoes game. And then
I do want to tell you there, and this is going to blow your mind.
Yeah.
There still is racism in America.
No.
Yes.
Get out of here.
Can you believe that?
Get out of here.
It's rampant. Oddly enough, I know it's weird.
Yeah, in Poland, it's just like limited to the board game community. So.
Yeah, we call that life. It's just not a board game.
Yeah, so we played Mexican Train. We made like homemade pizzas. We just had fun. Like we just talked and just had fun. And then one of my friends came over and she's an amazing singer and she plays the guitar and she just kind of sat in the background like strumming and she was like taking requests. Like it was just lovely. It was just really chill. Yeah.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah. And she's like, I'm like, how are you not a perfect? Because she's Do you know Carla Bruni? Like she's the wife of the French president. She's also a
Okay.
singer and she sounds like exactly like that. I was just like, oh my gosh, Google her.
We both
Anyway,
know I know
fabulous.
nobody. You know, I don't know names at all.
She's a French singer and it's lovely. So yeah, it was good. It was really nice.
Okay, I'm definitely gonna to look her up because you know we're going to France.
When? Oh, for Taylor Swift, right?
We're going to see Taylor Swift in Paris,
That is
Scarlett's first
amazing.
concert.
Wait, when? It's because I have to block it out in my calendar.
It's in May. May
Okay,
9th is when
perfect.
the concert is. So yeah,
Amazing.
I'm so excited.
Amazing.
Yeah, so that's in 2024 is going to be
Woo.
France. And everyone knows, anyone who knows me knows that I am drawn to everything French, French food, the language.
Mm, mm.
I'm learning the language, like the whole thing. I love being like somewhat dismissive of everyone.
Fit right
Which I
in.
think is
Fit right
French.
in.
Yeah.
You guys, you can have like a dismissive off with like the waiters.
No, I'm just gonna appreciate being dismissed
Yeah.
finally. Like it's gonna be so wonderful.
You're gonna get a lot of eye rolls. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, I'm planning on it. I get them here just for
Yeah.
different reasons. My
Yeah.
driving,
Yeah.
just being over the top on everything, everyone's eye rolling me and I'm fine with it.
Yeah. Oh, good, good. Because it's a whole nother level there.
Yeah, I mean, once you get to like how many eye rolls I get and middle fingers every day, I mean,
Yeah, they
it's
don't do the middle
huge.
finger. It's not like dignified. So they just like,
Yeah, I agree.
yeah.
But they're more passive aggressive and they're telling you to fuck off, which I
Yes.
like.
Yeah.
I
Good.
appreciate it. It's not lost on me. I'm
Yeah.
excited.
How was your 20? I saw pictures. You were in pajamas, like matching pajamas. It looks super cute.
So my friend Lena had a little get together impromptu and everybody brought stuff. So like I brought a sushi board, of course, I like, and then I had gotten those pajamas of the bot like they're like silk pajamas and they've got bottles of Vouv on it. And so we had a pajama party. Everybody wore their PJs. And then I brought sushi. My friend Tatiana brought fireworks. It was Lena made a bunch of other food. It was just like everybody getting together and just
Mm.
chill.
Oh,
And it
it
was
looked lovely.
perfect.
Yeah.
It was wonderful. The kids had fun because everybody has kids. So we don't want
Yeah.
to like leave the kids to go.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
want to go out
Yeah.
in public. No way. No way. So
I've
we
never
decided,
had,
so that
I was talking to my friend today and she was like, every New Year's I've had has ended up with, if I go out, it's ended up with me in a corner crying. I was like, that is the most relatable thing I've ever heard.
it's just too hard now that I'm in my 40s. I'm like, you
Yeah.
know what? I don't want to chit chat with people I don't know. It's so
Yeah.
bad. Like I've gotten to the point where I just don't.
What was the best? Can you remember the best and the worst? So the best New Year's you've ever had, and then the worst New Year's you've ever had.
I can't remember any of my New Year's. I'm just kidding. They all seem the same now. Like looking back in my 20s, like you just go out to the bar or like to a
Mm,
bar or hotel and you
yeah.
just, you know, I don't remember. I can't. What's your, what maybe if your story might strike up a story on me.
Okay, so my two most memorable ones, and I can't say if they were the best or the worst, but one of my most memorable ones was Machik and I went to India to visit his friend. Like the day after Christmas, we just like hightailed it out and we went to Goa. We went to India. And his friend, who is Indian and lives in Goa, took us to like an Indian New Year's, which is like an Indian wedding. Like it was insane. It was like
That sounds
the party
amazing.
was as big as a city. Like it was just like, and it was just rows and rows. It was a buffet of the best Indian food. And then there was just like the
I
Indian
love Indian
like
food.
dance music and everyone was like colorfully dressed and I love the way they dance because they just kind of jump up and down. Like you don't really have to like, it was just the most fun. Like that
Yeah.
was the most memorable.
Know it.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing. That sounds amazing.
Yeah. And then
One of
another
my favorite things that I
oh,
ever did,
oh, go ahead.
speaking of food, one of the favorite things I ever did was like do all seafood, like a seafood bar.
Mm.
I love to start the new year off with seafood
Oh yeah.
or any other food. Indian food would be fine. Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds amazing.
I was thinking about seafood recently because Poland, what I miss so much about the US, if somebody would ask me, like, what do you miss most? I would say, like, my dad, Lizzy, your family, but also seafood. Like,
Yeah,
like
seafood
also,
is
there's none, you can't get like the all you can eat seafood buffet. They don't have them here. Like, it's just
I
really sad.
the seafood here is really good. The seafood in St. Thomas was wasn't they didn't
Mm.
have a lot. Um, but Chicago always had the best seafood. And then I had like in LA, you can just get anything you fucking want there. I
Mm.
love it. I
Oh
miss
man.
that.
Yeah.
Um, do you want to tell me another story about your New Year's or can we get into this
No, let's
vulnerability
just,
shit?
that'll be for next year. I'll tell.
Okay.
Cliffhanger.
Listen to that. So
Yeah.
let's talk about vulnerability.
Vanilla ice.
Vanilla
Nair, nair,
ice
nair,
ice
nair,
baby.
nair, nair.
Vulnerable is your word for 2024, right?
Yes. Yeah. And so I read Daring Greatly, which is the book on vulnerability by Brené, of course, Brené Brown. We had to start the new year off with her. But yeah, that's my word for 2023, vulnerability.
Yeah, that's a damn big word, I think.
Yeah.
When I first read Daring Greatly by Brené Brown, I read it in a group, I think of about 10 or 12 other women,
Were you in a
and
book
it was
club?
a Facebook. Yes, we were in a book
Okay.
club. And it was my first book club, like as a
Mm-hmm.
woman. And I was in this group of strangers, except for one, my seventh grade or eighth grade bestie, Kelly Owens is her name.
Mm-hmm.
And all these women were oddly, like I never met them, never face to face, were so vulnerable when reading this book and telling their stories. I mean, we're talking, they were just laying out on the line sexual assault,
Mm-hmm.
um, their failures as mothers, failures
Mm-hmm.
as girlfriends, failures as wives,
Mm-hmm.
failures as lovers. I mean, just this insane experience of these women serving themselves on a platter. And I don't remember respecting more people at
Mm-hmm.
simultaneously in my life ever before
Mm-hmm.
that moment. So this book is, to me, it's a Bible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I've always kept multiple copies and sent them home with people who
I
need
do
it.
that with certain books. That's so funny. That is
So
so
yeah.
funny. Yeah, I need it to be the word because I think I loved our season last season. Sorry, hang on, I'm gonna clear my throat. See? My chakra. It's so funny. I'll tell you in a second. Okay, there we go. So I went to this lady, this bioenergetic lady, and she said my throat chakra is blocked. Like, and
Mhm.
it comes up like I start talking about vulnerability and suddenly I can't speak. It's interesting. Huh. Anyway, I loved last season. We had like so many fun guests and we were doing like lots of wonderful topics, but I really this year like really want to reach out for things that I need help with and like admit that I need help with certain things, like the
Right.
things that I maybe was ashamed to admit.
Oh, look at that choke that you had to clear your
Isn't
throat
that
again.
crazy?
That's funny. Yeah.
That happens.
So
Yeah.
so that's pretty scary, right?
I'm a little scared. Yeah, I want to be like truly like real because I think that's the only way you can help people. Like if you can just admit certain things that other people need help with.
I remember when I was going to the bar a lot when I lived in Chicago, and I realized that I was just bullshit. I was a wave of bullshit coming in, and I would come out and I just was not myself. I was what I thought everybody else wanted me to be. And, you know, I just remember thinking, God, what would anybody think if they really truly knew me?
Yeah.
Am I really like, I'm not a badass. I do give so many fucks. I am have weaknesses. I feel very stupid sometimes. I feel, you know, very scared sometimes. I'm very, very, very much my true self is not a masculine energy at all. It's a lie. And I remember when I decided that I was going to set some of those bags down, and I remember being fucking totally scared.
Yeah.
So I'm so proud of you
I'm a little
as a
scared,
friend.
but this book helped. This book helped, I think. It's interesting that she's in recovery. Because in recovery, when there's a step where you do an inventory, like everything you list all your fears and all your resentments. And then you look at why you have them. And it's all fear. It's all fear of not being good enough and fear of what other people think of you. And those are the two things that like drive you to drink, or use, like just fear, I'm not good enough, yeah, what are people going to think of me? And that's that shame that she was talking about. So I think I have a feeling that influenced her quite a bit in her writing of this book. Like I could like smell and sense recovery coming off of her.
I mean, I know the 12 steps well. Thankful to my background and everything, but like if you do the 12 steps of AA, I'm talking, or Al-Anon, or, you're bound and to be more truthful and honest and show up and be seen and, you know, be more of yourself than you were before the 12 steps. I don't care who you are. Like if you did those 12 steps, you are going to be more of yourself.
Yeah, because
You have
you're
to.
facing the truth about yourself, which I think a lot of people can't even be vulnerable because they are so afraid to face the truth about themselves that they're even lying to themselves. So you have to
Oh,
look
that's
at,
number
yeah,
one.
yeah,
You do lie to yourself. I remember that once I admitted to being bullshit, once I admitted to that, I was like, oh my God, it was like, well, I've been lying to myself. I'm not that person at all. I'm not a party girl. I like to be at home. I don't like, like I wanted to be this image that I thought was better for everybody else. And finally, when I stopped believing my own lie, it was like, holy shit.
yeah,
And you know what? A lot of people did fucking think I was lame after that.
yeah,
And that took me a couple of years to get through.
yeah. We have a fear of what other people think of us and a fear of not being good enough. If you don't think I'm good enough, then I'm not good enough. We put our self-worth into other people's hands.
Well, and it was actually true.
Yeah.
There were people that I was surrounded by that didn't think I was as good as I was when I was the wave of bullshit. They liked that person. And
Yeah.
and my reality did come true and I was rejected. And I
Mm.
still am. Sometimes I'll act like that. I'll be the wave of bullshit and I'll pull back and be like, "No, that's not you." And then somebody won't like me for who I am. I mean, it happens all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Like,
think once you start not putting your self-worth in other people's hands, which is really difficult, like you slowly stop caring what other people think of me is none of my business. Really hard to do. Really
I
hard to
think
do.
once you sign the contract with yourself to be yourself, it's not that you don't care about what other people think anymore. It just becomes it's almost like every time you fake or you
Mm.
put up that bullshit screen, you feel like you're cheating on yourself and you feel this immense amount of pressure and guilt because guilt,
Yeah.
not shame. You feel guilt because you're like, no, this is not, I'm not showing up and being seen. So even if they like me, it's bullshit,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Like I can make anybody like me if I'm going to be who they want to be. I can mirror anybody.
Hmm.
I fucking grew up being trained for that.
Yeah.
I went into like I made thousands and thousands of dollars doing that. But if I am going to show up and be seen and be liked, it fucking feels like a, a lie if they like me and I'm not myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So you loved the book? Tell me more.
I did. Um, yeah, I think she's great. I love how she's a researcher. I love how she like has conversations about shame. It just made me feel a little braver. And I think and it just made me feel like how important it is for me to be like authentic with myself, you know? Like I forget and I start drifting off into other people's expectations because I'm ashamed that I'm not fulfilling these expectations and I drift further away from who I am, you know?
Right.
There's like a
Right.
disconnect with myself. So I really just liked how she stressed like that the importance of that. Like I needed to be reminded.
Has it affected you thus far? Have you done anything differently?
Um, I don't think I've had oh well, yeah. I mean, showing up for this podcast, like still showing up for it. And then I'm gonna like this whole year, I'm just gonna start admitting what I need help with, you know, things that I was like burying, you know, or at my work. Like I'm agreeing to do certain things, which I'm not good at and I don't really enjoy doing. And why am I agreeing to this? So I'm going to be fully
Right.
myself at work and saying, hey, I can't do this. Like, I suck at this. Like, here's what I want to be doing, you know? So just showing up in all areas of my life, like authentically.
I would challenge anybody, and because this really worked for me and it's fucking scary because like women are naturally people pleasers. I think people are people pleasers, but you know, it started for me when somebody would ask me to go out or go do something and I would
Mm,
say, but wait, I would say, no thanks. And I would not offer an excuse.
that is
And
so funny that you mentioned that right now because I have a girlfriend that called me and she's like, this guy asked me on a date and I don't want to go. So what should I say? And I'm like, just say you don't want to go. And she's like,
no,
but
thank you.
she said,
All you
but
have to
that's,
say.
she said, that's mean. I have to come up with an excuse. And I'm like, no, you don't. I'm like, no is a complete sentence. But here's where we get into the fear of what other people think of us. Like, I need to come up with an excuse so he feels better and he's not
Well,
mad
I
at
mean,
me, you know?
what about no, thank you for the offer?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I think that like you would being yourself doesn't mean being cruel. I
But
think where
it's,
that's where like women get in a place where they think, oh my God, like he's being vulnerable by asking me. So I owe him some sort of nut rub. You don't.
you don't know anybody's shit. And when I
You don't
did,
owe
yeah,
anybody a nut rub.
not rub,
Is that a thing? I want to fucking trademark nut rub.
trademark it.
Yeah.
When I went through the steps and I did my my sexual inventory, you have to write down like all your partners and everything. And I realized that really often I would agree to do stuff that I didn't want to do because I felt like it was expected of me or I felt like I owed a nut rub. And I'm like, I don't want to do that anymore. Like I haven't done that in a long time, but I just saw how fear and shame and fear of what other people think of me and fear of not being good enough, it just directed my life. Like I was led
Yeah.
by that and not with what I actually wanted to do.
Yeah, if it's like an obligatory roll in the hay is the worst kind.
It's so bad.
It's so bad. It's so bad. But like even an obligatory, go to a party that you didn't want to
Mm,
go to. It's like, my God, you're not even going to be noticed that you're not there. I don't care how important you are.
yeah.
Once the party is going on, nobody gives a fuck who shows up, as long as somebody does. And there's always somebody who's like, not, if the party's going to, let's just say there is a sucky party. There's always some bitch that is not further enough in her journey to say no. So somebody's going to go. It doesn't have to be you,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
and once I've had many parties, once the party starts, I don't even notice who's not there. I only notice who is there.
Yeah.
So it's like, just don't go to parties you don't want to go to.
Yeah. And yeah, I love the not explaining yourself, because I think we tend to do that, like explain away. And I've been practicing that. So just saying, no, no thanks, or not giving excuses, like explaining myself away, like
Well, I think we nut rub in so many different ways, like, because we just want to like make people feel important. But it's not our jobs to make anybody feel important
yeah, and I don't even think it's about them. I think it's about, if we make them feel important, then we feel safer
and better. We feel
and
like we're
better with
good
ourselves.
people.
Yeah.
Like,
So
you're not a good person. Let me stop you right there. Nobody's good. Just knock it off. Like, stop trying to be good.
uh,
It's a lost cause.
yeah,
You're
Anthony
a
DeMello
failure.
said it in awareness. I'm an ass, you're an ass. Just deal with it.
Yeah.
Like,
Just stop faking it, please.
yeah.
Like, you're making everybody else look at you like, and another thing, and I see it in the mom section of life, it's like, okay, we know you're not perfect.
Yeah.
We know you're not. You're not a perfect mother. There is not one on earth. So you just look like you're faking it better.
Mm.
Like, if you're doing that, and all you're doing is making other moms feel worse about themselves, and it's not nice.
Yeah. Well, then they
I
feel better.
remember
Yeah.
I it would like they feel
Yeah.
superior
Yeah.
or whatever. Like, fuck off. We know by your little brat that you're not perfect. We just know. So stop. But it like there was this I was in this moms group. We this amazing moms group. And we had this mom, Robin, I know she won't mind me coming at her, because it's like she walked in. I mean, she was try nursing 3 different
Mm.
age children.
Mm. Oh
She
my
had
gosh.
like, yeah, I'm not kidding you. She was a superwoman. She's like amazing. But she came in, she was all gaunt. She was spent. She goes, "Guys, I'm having a really bad day. I just can't do this anymore. I'm
Mm.
losing it." And this other mom, who I will not name, lay comes in and says, "When I do that, I just lay in the middle of the room and look up at my beautiful child and let her dance around me." And I looked at her and I looked at Robin and I said, "Fuck that. I go in the bathroom and cry like a normal person."
Yeah.
And it was just that moment where it was like, if you are that, keep it to your fucking self, because you're just making everyone feel terrible.
Yeah. Oh.
That's not your real self either. We know it.
Yeah. Nobody lies on
It's
the floor
like,
and has their beautiful
but
child
you
dance around them.
not, well, and if they do, it's Godspeed. Godspeed. Lead by example through action, not making somebody feel so bad about themselves in that very moment,
Yeah.
because that was
Yeah.
so
What is
ego
that? Like
driven.
that's like virtue signaling or something, you know?
Oh, woo, woo,
Pew!
woo.
The virtue signaling police.
I
Oh,
was like, oh, the poor, I mean, just, but like the, you know, being imperfect is human. Trying your best is vulnerability as well. Like, trying to
yeah.
be your best self is also vulnerable.
Yeah. I mean, she defines vulnerability as like opening yourself up to hurt, to pain, to failure. So,
Yeah. Like working out is vulnerability,
yeah.
you know, trying to do a little bit better than you did yesterday. And because the possibility is there that you might end up same or worse.
Yeah.
That's vulnerability.
Yeah.
Like
Telling the truth, like in your relationship, telling the truth about yourself, vulnerability. He might leave,
starting, he
you
might
know?
leave. And there was a place in our marriage that I had to be really honest about sex.
Mm,
And he did too. And it was terrifying
yeah.
because we're not taught as women or men to put out exactly what we like, what we don't like, what we're scared of,
Yeah,
what's
that's
happened
what
before.
pisses me off about like I was talking to my chick about this the other day. What the fuck are schools teaching kids?
I know.
Useless shit. Like, give me the conversation of where I have to talk to my partner, teach me how to communicate, teach me how to do my taxes, teach me how to, that stuff is what I need. I need life
Well, I mean,
skills.
let me tell you what another way a huge vulnerability is. I took Scarlett as a
Yeah.
homeschooling.
Yeah.
I took her into it. And that was vulnerable too, because here I'm taking this kid's perfect life into my own hands and teaching her the things I think she should know for life. And
No,
this is one of
good.
them.
Good.
How to be vulnerable, how to show up, how to put yourself out there, how to fail.
Yeah.
How to fail gracefully. There's a difference. There are people that are so hard on themselves when they fail that they won't try again.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I've met with that too, and they get so upset. I have a girl that I'm coaching now, and the way that I coach is that they do certain actions for like 2 weeks. And she missed one day of doing the actions, and she called me up. She's like, I don't know what happened. Like she was so down on herself. And I'm like, girl, she did the actions perfectly for 13 days and she just missed one day. I'm like, and it's just people get so down on themselves.
Yeah, it's like I think parenting is two things. I think it's teaching yourself or your child how to fail gracefully, and it's securing them
Mm,
into who they are at all
yeah.
times.
Yeah.
Children should feel secure. And if you don't have those two things, if you're not doing those actively as like,
Yeah.
then there's something going to go wrong.
Yeah.
So
So
can we take a banter break just
yeah.
for a second?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would love it.
Yeah. Let me just pause.
Well, we're back. Thank you.
Lizzie was peeing.
I want to be fully vulnerable. I was urinating. I had to pee.
Yeah, I know. I want to know from you because Daring Greatly, I remember when we first started talking about this podcast, you're like, we have to do this book. Like, this is my all-time favorite. Like, why is it your favorite book? How did it change your life?
The simple phrase I will, and I do this to this day, is show up and be seen.
Mm,
Show up and be seen.
mm,
And like when you sign a contract with yourself to show up and be seen for who you are, it changes your entire life.
yeah.
And I do want to say that I have not gained more friends, more admirers, more anything by doing this. But I can sleep better at night. I have a more fulfilled life. I have better friends. I am in general a more joyful person because I am not uh faking it. I'm not
Yeah.
faking, I'm not a sellout. I'm not a sellout.
Yeah.
And so I think that is a gift like no other. I think that this book is just a must read for all people. I really do. Um, I wanted to ask you, are you comfortable talking about like what you're vulnerable, like what your
Yeah.
things? Okay, let's talk about that because I think
Yeah.
that yours probably the same as mine, and mine are probably the same as everybody else's.
Yeah. I think one that's coming up for me is this grief tied to not becoming not being a mother, right? Like not, and I'm always like, because you know me, I'm like Miss Positive, like, yay,
Yeah,
yes, we can
so positive.
adopt. And I still totally believe in that. But there is some sort of grief that I have never had a child of my own, like just
Right.
grief, right? And anger and like resentment at not all moms, but some moms. Um, Not you, obviously, but there's some moms who are like almost probably like that mom who was like, I just lay on the floor, kind of like this virtue signaling, like, well, you're not, you wouldn't really know because you don't have kids, like those comments. Like, I just want to I know I don't, right? I know I don't know. I know I don't have kids and I know I don't know, but why make that comment? Stuff like that. So,
Well,
like,
because it's the ego's way to feel better.
yeah,
And and I can totally understand where you're coming from resenting mothers because after Jacob died, I
yeah,
resented every mother who didn't treat their child so well because I was like, why do they get a child and not me?
yeah,
But it pisses me off when I hear of people saying to you and to anyone else, you wouldn't know because you're not a mother, because I've been a mother twice
yeah,
and they were both very different. And you don't know anything about being the mother of another person's child anyway.
yeah,
So it's just bullshit.
yeah. And
And
yeah, I agree. And I really want to face this because I've been sort of sweeping it on the side and not acknowledging it, not looking at it. And then a quote from this book, really from Daring Greatly, I think it was something like, if you numb the dark, you numb the light. And I was like, I am numbing the dark.
mm,
Like there is this dark in me and I'm numbing it. And so I want to face it.
is there any, like, I know that you and Maciek you were trying to have a child. Have you just quit
Yeah,
trying?
we tried for like 8 years. And
Yeah.
then we went to these fertility clinics in Warsaw and it then I got cancer. Now I'm 46. So possible. But I'm 46. Like he's
Yeah.
56. He's 10 years older than I am. It's,
Right.
it doesn't really make something in both of us is saying like this is not the way. Like we definitely
Okay.
think adoption is the way, but I think you can have both. I think you can still really want to adopt but still grieve for the children you never had naturally.
I think you can too. I know you
Yeah.
can. You are.
Yeah, and not having um you can still grieve and like cuz people are like I have friends who are like you can still get pregnant, but I don't like I
Well,
don't feel like
I
it's
mean, we're in Naples, Florida. There are rich people everywhere having babies at like 52,
I know.
53. I'm like, okay, I mean, you do you. I don't
Yeah.
give a fuck.
Yeah.
So it doesn't like, but if something is, if you're laying it down for some reason,
Yeah.
that's okay, you
Yeah.
know?
I'm laying it down for now. Who knows? I mean, maybe when I turn 50, I'll be like, I changed my mind. But at the moment, it's, yeah, I just, I have to listen to my body, and that's what my body's saying. So I'm laying it
Okay.
down. And really, like, things are coming to me about adoption. Like, I really feel like that's the thing I want to do. But
Okay.
there's this sense of grief that I'm experiencing with not having my own kid, you know? So that there's sex stuff and relationship stuff that I want to look at, like
Okay.
having a better sex life. Um, Really, and again,
I think
I've mentioned
sex
this
is
before.
so important
Yeah.
in, and it's so vulnerable, but like, I think cerebrally we can talk ourselves into it not being important, but it actually like connects to so many different things that are scary.
Yeah. And I think I touched on it last season when I was like, I feel really disconnected with myself and my body and my pleasure. And I still feel that. Like, I know we had a couple guests, like whatever, but I think I really this year want to do something about it because I feel completely disconnected with like pleasure, sensuality. Like I feel kind of dead inside when it comes to that. And so that's something I'm admitting, which is super
Yeah.
vulnerable. And I don't know what that is, but I want to, but I was never super connected in that way. I mean, I used drugs and alcohol for that. When I was not
Yeah.
sober, it was fine. But when I got sober, there's some sort of block. So I want to explore that. That's a big thing that I want to explore.
I'm
So those are
excited.
two
I loved
things.
it. Those sexuality is the one thing that I am so drawn to, like, because I do think it's so connected to so many other things. So I'm excited to do that with you.
Yeah.
I don't think you can ever be connected enough with your needs and pleasure and pointless acts of joy.
Yeah. I love that. And I went to this therapist once and he said, sex is connected to life force. So if you're rejecting
Mhm.
sex, you're rejecting life. And I was like, ugh, oh my God, like it scared
Yes,
me.
so true. It's so true.
Yeah.
And if you don't make eye contact with it, I do believe it really throws off your connection to higher power, your connection to others, just who you are in general. It's like, when you have sex as a woman, you open yourself up and take it in.
It's the most vulnerable. It's a
Yeah, you're
vulnerable place to be.
opening,
You're completely vulnerable. So I
you're
think,
opening and accepting.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that is really hard. And the feminine energy is really, really fun to explore too.
yeah. And I've lost it. I mean, since getting sober, I mean, I maybe that's the reason I even started like, drinking and using drugs was that was locked up somewhere because when I was, drinking or using drug, like that part was freed. So I know I can access it sober because I've accessed other parts,
Mhm.
that were locked, so I just have to find the key and that's what I'm going to search for this year. So,
That's exciting. I can't
yeah.
wait to do that with you. We're going to blame your mother for that, just so you know.
So
It's
those are two
always the
things.
mother.
Yeah. Those are like the top two. How about you?
That's
Anything you want to
exciting.
be vulnerable about this
Um,
year?
I'm going to be super vulnerable about my health. I know
Okay.
I've talked about it over and over, but I am not taking no for an answer. I am like leaning in to getting completely where I want to be on a health scale. That is vulnerable to me because
Yeah.
I don't feel that I do good enough for my body.
Mm.
So 2024, I am, and I'm well, I'm feeling great about my progress thus far. I got an infrared sauna for Christmas. And then Jason just installed red light therapy panels in it.
Oh yeah, I
So,
saw
which,
that on Insta. It looks amazing. It's like the
yeah,
we
it's
need
so good.
help sauna because it's all red.
It's all red and it's so good. And I just made a deal with myself not to let my health down, which, it means like working out every single day and, doing the right things every single day.
Yeah.
Um, and just, I really want to be vulnerable when it comes to putting this podcast out and getting, this is my other one, is like getting sponsors and I mean, we're doing the work, so we
Yeah.
haven't marketed it at all.
Yeah.
And just like, I am scared of that. I am scared of success
Yeah.
with it. I have not, like, we've made plan after plan, and I feel like I'm the missing tooth
Mm.
in it because I'm scared of success in it. And that is ridiculous.
I read this interesting book, which I think we're going to have to read at some point. Success, rejection of success is rejection of mother. I read that somewhere and I was
It's
like,
always the mother.
who's the mom? But I read that, like, you really have to embrace fully your mom, which that also is vulnerable. So like, I'm gonna have to dig that book out. We're gonna have to do that one.
Yeah, you're gonna have to come up with what that is. Absolutely. But it's
Yeah.
going to be, you know, we are lovely together on this podcast. I
Yeah.
enjoy doing it. I love everybody who listens to it loves it,
Yeah.
or the other people don't, and they can fuck off. Like,
Go
start
make
your
your
own
own
podcast.
podcast.
Yeah. So, but I think that, I am just scared to put myself out there over and over and over. And I never have been like that in sales. That's what
Yeah.
this is. So I'm
Yeah.
going to be selling this podcast, and it's like super vulnerable, and that's 2024.
Yeah.
Like, I want to do that. And and then also one more thing, and this is very vulnerable because a lot of people don't know this about me, but Jason handles all the money, and I am getting involved in saving money and being more mindful about our
Mm.
resources and stuff like that, which is very scary to me because when we were growing up, I had no money. I was didn't I was never taught about money. It was never like something until I met Jason, we were like I was living
Yeah.
check to check.
Yeah.
I was always going to spend all my money. So I'm getting really involved in like saving money. And I just did this crazy ass thing for people who are here. I don't know how Poland is, but Amazon just delivers whatever you want like next day.
Yeah.
So I'm only ordering from Amazon twice a month, the 1st and the 15th. It has saved me so much freaking impulse buys. You wouldn't believe it. I would highly recommend it.
That's
But I'm diving
interesting.
into money.
I have rules for myself with impulse buys. I have to wait 3 days. And if
Mm.
I really want to buy something, I have to wait 3 days. And if I still want it 3 days later. So it's that has saved me because I'm always like 3 days later, I'm like, or I forget about it. So
I'm having to
interesting.
wait 15 days.
That's
15 days
amazing.
is a lot.
That's a good one. That's a
Yeah,
really good one.
I've literally never waited 15 days for
I
something
would
I
like
want in my
panic, like,
life.
what if the shoes aren't available anymore?
Oh yeah, I've had some scarcity thoughts. Absolutely.
Oh my God, if those shoes aren't available. And then 2 weeks later they go on
I know.
sale, like, boom.
Yeah, I'm like, well, I mean, I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
I've already got them usually. So it's that simple. I just get what I want. So
Yeah.
I'm really trying to be more mindful about money, which is a huge vulnerability for me.
Yeah.
So
Good.
yeah,
Oh, I
that's
can't wait. This is amazing. So
this
what
is
are we
amazing.
doing next week?
What do you want to do? Hmm.
There's this, so
Let's do
there's this book that I've
let's
been
do your
reading.
ADHD.
Yeah, there's this
ADHD.
book that I've been reading called The Empowered Wife, which was recommended to me by the support group that I'm in it's called the Wives of ADHD. So and it's a really interesting book, and there's like 6 spiritual principles, and this woman wrote it who she said like her husband was sleeping on the couch. She was like completely sure that they were going to get a divorce. They did loads of couples therapy and it didn't work.
Okay.
And so she went around asking different couples who were like together for a really long time, what works for you in your relationship? And she basically did a Brené Brown where she just like gathered loads and loads of research and then analyzed it and came up with these 6 common factors. She started doing them and she said it was only her doing them. He wasn't required to do any of it. And she said it completely changed everything. So let's do that. The
Okay.
Empowered Wife, it's called.
The empowered wife, and that's a great one for your vulnerability in your relationship.
I think so too. Yeah. Yay.
Yeah, I would love that. And I know a lot of people, ADHD is a huge factor. Um, I think it has to do with like there's a lot of really cool research going into ADHD right
Yeah.
now. So I'm sure a lot of people would be helped, and I can't wait to learn about it because I have a lot of ADHD people in my life.
Yeah. Yeah. So the support group recommended the book, but it's not it's not specifically for ADHD partners, but
Oh.
all the women in this group said that this book has helped them. So even whether your partner's ADHD or
Okay.
not, these tools might help. Yeah. So
Okay, I love that.
Yay.
Well, I am married, so I'm into it. Let's do
All
this.
right. Love you so much. And I'll
I
see you
love
next
you so much, and
Tuesday.
I'll see you next
I'm
Tuesday.
holding the microphone
I know, what are you doing? I love
because
it.
the stand fucking broke today. So
Thanks for joining us this week on We Need Help, the podcast, the duct tape of self-help.
please visit our website, weneedhelpthepodcast.com, where you can find links to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, and all the others, so you'll never miss a show.
You'll also find links to the books we've reviewed and our amazing store.
If you enjoy this podcast, go right now, because if you're anything like us, you'll never do it later. Like and share our page and episodes on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or just tell a friend about the show. That would help us out too.
Also, feel free to let us know what you need help with, and we'll try to cover it in a future episode. You can also find us on Instagram at we need help _the podcast.
Thank you for listening.